neglected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman.
Hey sis, welcome back to Black Girl SOS. Today we are talking about black women in leadership in this America, and I got two of my most expensive leaders with me. Okay, I'm only gonna bring y'all the baddest of the bad, all right? Ladies, please introduce yourself. Kim, go ahead, go first.
My name is Kimberly Lyons, and I am a native and current resident of Bronx, the Bronx, New York. I am in a leadership position. I work in the financial services industry. I have been in this industry, Lord, I'm gonna tell my age, over 15 years. Been working.
Don't worry, we all elder.
I know, right? Like, I've been working in a corporate environment for over 15 years. And now I am in a space at a level where my voice holds weight, and it's respected and it's acknowledged.
I like that.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Malin Sinclair. I reside in Brooklyn, New York. I'm currently a leader in the wireless industry. I've been in the industry for over 25 years, believe it or not. Particularly in the retail industry. I have several positions. I also hold a seat at the table for diversity and inclusion. And yeah, that's pretty much who I am.
See, I told y'all it was bad. You're welcome. So, ladies, first and foremost, I would like, and you know, whoever wants to go first, go at your leisure, but I would like you to define or just give us your definition of leadership, because it's not the same to everybody.
Okay. For me, I've always used these words to define leadership. Lead your ship. Like, it's your ship. You need to lead it. You need to be at the front of the line at all times, and there's no shortcut. So you will always hear me say, lead your ship, because it is your ship and you should lead it. No one else should lead it. So I keep it short and sweet, and that's what I've always shared with my assistants and my team. Like, that is our definition, and that's how I define leadership.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, like, that's a really good, really good example.
First of all, I'm stealing it. So.
All right, I'm like, let me write that down.
I'm like.
Right. So I think of leadership as guiding, as being able to translate a vision into reality. It's taken me a little while to really come to that realization as I've climbed the ranks and gone through so many different iterations of leadership. Some were good leaders and some were bad. I definitely felt, and when it became my time to be a leader as well, I was most effective, not the one like barking orders, but basically showing, improving, and putting in the work as well. And you know, I felt like that got the most respect, and that's the way I got the most results out of the team.
Now, I agree with that. When I'm in leadership now, not in my 9 to 5, but in other spaces. But when I was in leadership in my 9 to 5, contrary to popular belief, they all thought that I would be barking at them, which is literally the opposite of my leadership style. I hold you extremely accountable. And that is my personal definition of leadership, accountability. 1, I need to be accountable to my team. 2, my team needs to be accountable to me. And 3, we all need to be accountable to each other. So we function in a space where we harbor respect. I feel like the accountability sinks in without you needing to tell somebody, hey, you know, you're accountable to me to do this. This is expected of you. I feel like when people feel respected, that accountability bit kind of just sinks in anyway, because you just don't want to let somebody down that you have a respect level for. So right. That's kind of just the way I went about it. Because at one point, one of my subordinates was actually, you know, someone who's like family to me, but like an auntie. Like, I knew her through my mom, like hanging out with my mother. So she's much older than me, obviously, and she's known me since I was in diapers. So it was a, you know, kind of a weird dynamic. And also she thought that she could lean into our relationship. And I was like, nah, sis, I write up everybody. I write up everybody. I leave my shit with authority too.
That's right. But I think that's important. I think that's important because that's why I have that definition. I teach my team that every single one of us are leaders, right? And you have to lead by example. And if this is your house, you're going to protect it. So this is our shit. You have to protect it. And you can't just rely on me because I have the title to say, okay, I'm only going to move because you say. No, we're all moving together. So if you think this is the right thing to protect our ship, we are going to move together. So that's important.
We all got to be paddling.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like the best way to do that is you have to empower people. Like, you know, to get respect, you have to give respect. And that's the way that I felt like you yielded the most results. Like, you know, at the end of the day, the buck stops with me. But if I'm empowering you and like, you know, to your point, Maylin, like giving you ownership of this as well, you're gonna ride just as hard as I am for it. So
that's the perfect segue to my next question. On your rise to leadership, to where you both now have seats at the table and a voice that's heard at the table, what do you feel like your strongest barriers were?
I can go. I think one of the barriers was because I was Black and I was a female. You know, when you're surrounded by male, it becomes very difficult and challenging to make your voice be heard. I'm coming from the era where it was like, okay, yeah, we hear you, but we don't hear you. Like men know how to do it better than females. So it was important to continue to fight for my voice to be heard. So, you know, I had to be so strategic in making my point or proving my point without saying, see, I told you so. Like, you know, seriously, like it became a challenge, right? So it turned out to be that instead of just saying it, I had to do it. And when I was doing it, it was driving results. And in the corporate world, as both Kim and I will share, it's all about numbers. Result is important. So now when you're over there and you're not performing, you're not driving results, now you have no choice but to come knocking at my door to say, hey, what are some best practices you are doing over there, right? And I don't have a problem sharing it because I want you to be successful. You're not going to be successful as I am because I am the one with the ideas and no one can, you know,
give you the recipe.
Right. I give you the recipe, but you can't bake the cake the way how I'm going to bake it. Because the way I bake the cake is going to have love and it's going to have empathy, it's going to have compassion, in which why people are drawn to me because I'm trustworthy, you know? So I think being able to fight and just sit at the table, because there's one thing fighting to be on the table, but then there's a second part that we have to do. We have to make sure that our voice is being heard. And that's a challenge right there by itself. So.
Right. For my journey, I think what hindered me the most, well, it would be early on, but I have encountered it through many stages of my career. It's implicit bias or unconscious bias, whichever buzzword you want to use right now. So I definitely, you know, at the start of my career, like, you know, star out of the sky, I was getting promotions, like, you know, left and right. And then I realized I hit a point where the accolades were coming in far and few between in terms of like actual development and promotional opportunities. What I realized was that the people that were praising me to my face were the ones that behind closed doors, when those conversations were being had, were not supporting me. Those were the voices that were at the table at the time. And that was like a real wake-up call for me. You know, I realized that, you know, race definitely had something to do with it. I felt, but it's the ones, it's the Amy Coopers that are, you know, like I'm you know, liberal, I'm supportive of you, but really are not trying to amplify your voice or elevate you to the same level that they are. So I really feel like that was a major hindrance.
So mine is reverse. I have never had any issues moving up in spaces where I want to move up. Like at my 9 to 5 now, I don't have any desire to move up. It's not on my to-do list, right? But in workspaces that I've been in where it was my goal to move up and I have moved up, I've never had any issues. It's once I got there, like you were saying, May, once you're in the seat. So it's like I got there, everything was fine. And I kind of talked about this on the last episode of just really moments that I thought were going to be Black girl magic that turned into Black girl tragic, where I thought I was going to get like this really good mentorship from women who were in seats that, you know, I was hoping to one day occupy, maybe not in that exact, you know, company, not their seat per se, but, you know, occupy that seat in my own space that I really thought I was going to get all of this mentorship from and all of this support from. And it was like, I had the Kim experience where they were like, oh, you're great. But behind closed doors, it was like, oh, well, this is why she's problematic. And this is why she's problematic. But for the fact that I was driving results, the people that they were speaking to, you know, it's, I forget how the saying goes, but it's basically your name is being spoken in rooms you haven't walked into yet. My name had already been in those rooms unbeknownst to me. Those people had already been singing my praises because I had already been driving results. So when the person who was, you know, above me that I thought I was going to get mentorship from was basically trying to outline me as being somebody who's problematic, they were like, you got the same Tasha at your job?
Right.
Because that's not the Tasha that we get. And one, I would say I thought it was whack because we all Black women, right? So we should always be trying to we should always be lifting as we climb. That's how it should be. And I've consistently found that even outside of work, even in civic organizations I belong to, women that are, you know, that I think I'm going to get mentorship for whatever reason, don't lift as they climb. They feel like, you know, they got to guard their seat to the end. And I'm like, sis,
but see,
I'll bring a fold-up chair. It's not that serious. You can have your chair.
I'm glad you bring that up because what I learned is that although we have expectations for another Black sister to give us that Black girl magic and
I let that go, but yeah, I had to let that go.
So the reality is that their experience is actually different from us, you know, so they're not coming from that Black world that we been living and experiencing. They are coming from experiences where they have the Amy's, they have the Karen, they have the Susan, they got the Bobs who are championing them on to get to that level. So now when they see another sister, it causes conflict because now they feel like, oh, this sister's coming from my position when it's really not the case. I'm just trying to share the same seat. I'm trying to get the seat at the table with you, sis. I'm trying to grow with you. So it's very challenging and it's very strategic. You have to be very strategic when you're in leadership. It's not even a game. It's a game, but it's really strategic. Hence why I had to learn how to play chess, because I had to understand my pieces on the board and I had to learn how to move them in order to get what I want, you know, in the long term. So
I think to that point, I think it's generational. Age obviously plays a big role. You know, to Maitland's point, when the older generation of Black women were coming up, they were the only in a room. And that environment, you know, as unfortunate as it may be or may have been, that's what they cling on to, is being the only. To be honest, my experience hasn't been that with women of color. That experience has been with women of the majority. So they were the ones that were doing the Amy Cooper crap to me. And I'm
happy to hear that you had a better, an alternative experience than mine. I love that.
Right, but the problem with that is that there weren't many Black women leaders in my industry in a position of absolute power. I didn't meet women managing directors until I would say in the past couple of years. And I actually had like amazing experiences with them because I do have like a really close friend. I consider her a mentor. And, you know, she's an ally and she makes it her business to like put me out on Front Street with everybody. If she knows somebody, I'm going to know somebody. And
that.
she definitely put me in a position to become friends with a very influential Black woman within our industry at a level like you really wouldn't see. And this woman like basically immediately took me under her wing, especially when I was transitioning between jobs. Like she was amazing. Like she like called, like she's like call, like email whenever you want, like coach me through like salary negotiations. Just was like, you know, who do I know at that firm? Like I'll reach out to them. Like she was amazing. And I would want to hope and think in hindsight that if I had met her or others like hers earlier in my career, I would have had the same results. I just didn't. I didn't have that option. There weren't any at that time.
I will say this, in my professional, like in my profession, I have had great Black women attorneys as mentors, just not in the corporate spaces that I work in because I don't work for a law firm. I have my own firm, and then I work in health insurance. But women attorneys, I have had some stellar Black women attorneys as mentors. Like I appreciate them on another level because when I tell you we all know that I am very big on myself. I think quite highly of me. So exactly, we all know this. But what they did do for me was to help me convert that great self-esteem about myself as a person into myself as a business. So I don't feel reliant on shit. Like this 9 to 5 could come and fucking go. I'ma still get $1. Like,
yeah.
I will flex this law degree to the end of the earth if need be. And so they were really, really good in that way. And I appreciate them for that because they knew that I was going into an area of law that is predominantly old white male. Not that all of law isn't, but tax law especially.
Right. They were preparing you.
Exactly. They were just like, you know, listen, either you go curse somebody out and either stand on your own 2 feet or they're going to be intimidated and then you're going to end up just branching off on your own and need to stand on your own 2 feet and just know that like you're able, you can do that. Right. That being said, I do want to pivot to the current climate because you ladies are leadership in a state of disarray. Shit is on fire, baby. It's the upside down, baby. This shit is on fire. So I feel like at this point, every company has made their position clear. They either put out a statement that made their position clear, or they didn't say shit, which also made their position clear. So at this point,
your silence is a statement.
Exactly, it's a very loud statement. So I feel like at this point, we know where everyone stands. From your seat, from your leadership seat and your industry, how does the statements that have come out of your industry align with you and your leadership style? Like, what has had to change because of that? What have you had to do differently because of it?
Okay. Cam, you want to go first?
All right. So this is a very interesting question. To be honest, I didn't really I had a hard time processing everything that was happening, right? Like for us, unfortunately it's normal, right? Like George Floyd wasn't the first, he wasn't the last. Like we just had Rayshard Brooks this past weekend, right? So, and before there was no uproar, but then I realized like, oh, we're in a global pandemic. Like everyone, there are no diversions, there's no distractions. You have to sit with this. You have to see this.
You gotta
so right. So that Monday, once I realized like, oh, people are actually paying attention to this, and I won't ever forget it. Like within my department, we were having like a random, like regular recurring meeting or whatever. And it was kind of like business as usual. And I was just like, wait a minute, this is not business as usual. Like, we cannot continue to have business as usual. Unbeknownst to me, like, our executive leadership team within the company was like putting together their statement, but I made it a point to highlight to our department executive team, like, listen, we have to address this. Someone has to say something. This is not normal. In addition to that, we have a lot of junior people. This may be their first corporate job. They may not know how or feel comfortable expressing how they truly feel about this, and people are having a hard time processing this.
That's
like,
a good point.
I feel like the level of civic engagement right now is through the roof. Like, you've never had everyone, like most people in the country on the same.
No, the Amish came out. The
Right.
Amish, they didn't got no phone.
Exactly. So
They
I'm
did.
like, this is different, and we need to lean into this moment right now. We need to have those uncomfortable conversations, because you're gonna ask me if I'm okay. Like, how's your day going? No, I am not okay. Like,
Thank
no,
you.
I am literally living through racial
Louder
trauma.
for the people
There
in
has
Texas.
been months of, it started with Ahmaud Arbery, then Breonna, like, it's month after month of some unarmed Black person getting killed. Like,
Yeah.
I am not okay. So,
Yeah.
and I was just like, listen, I have nothing for you. Like, I'm calling it Black today.
That's a big move.
I don't. Our company, our global, like, executive leadership team put out a very strong statement, which I've definitely appreciated. And then they followed up. We have an employee resource group that is dedicated to the Black employees at our firm. And, they engaged with us. They let us have our safe space. They, wanted to know, like, what next steps could be, which I also really appreciated. But, I also have to, we continue to hold them accountable. Like, we're going to continue to have these conversations. Like, this is not, a point in time thing. Like, these instances will continue to happen. It's always going to be topical. The time for the conversation is now. And also, the burden is not on us to teach you about what to do. Like,
You the walrus,
guys,
baby.
we'll
The
engage
walrus.
you with this, but Google is at everyone's fingertips. If you call yourself an ally and you call yourself an advocate, you have to do the work. Now, we are tired. We are tired. Like, you cannot be passively, I'm an anti-racist. I hate racism. Like, that. Enough with that passive stuff. Like, what are you doing?
I hate racism. What?
So what are you doing?
What
Are you
are you
calling
doing
your aunt?
What are you
You
doing?
calling your Aunt Carol? Like, what are you doing?
Your cousin Amy on the phone. Did you
Right.
help her? Did you stop her? Cut her phone off.
Yeah.
This is her plan. Cut her phone off. All the Amy's of the world, cut their damn phone off.
Right.
All of them.
So for me, it was a little different, and it was like a sense of urgency for me. For those who know me, know that when I strive very well in dealing with chaos, right? Because I'm coming from that world where your decision making happens really, really fast. Like, you don't really have time to think. And from one of my seats, I actually, inspire and motivate individuals to join this group. And I'm talking about this group consists of over 300 employees plus. So as the lead, which is like the president of the Women in Leadership Network, I thought it was very important for me to put out a statement. So I didn't wait for my company. I'm like, no, I have to talk to we are 74% of our employees are African American. And I'm sorry, I wasn't waiting for legal. I wasn't waiting for corporate America. I was not waiting for the CEO. I thought it was imperative of me to communicate to my team and my direct employees to let them know where I stand. And this is a conversation that we are going to have. I'm not going to ignore it. I'm not going to be silent. And if I have to risk my position, I am willing to do that, because I am taking a stand on letting you know that I am Black every day. Not just yesterday, not just today. I am Black every single day. And I need you to know that I understand how you're feeling. So to Kim's point, I made it my business to let them know when someone asks you how you doing, do not play the game and say, oh, I'm okay. You know, life is beautiful. No, I'm tired. I am sick. I'm tired. I am hurt. I'm tired of seeing my people dying. Like, be open and honest to communicate. So that was one. Then at that time, I put out the statement. I did a video. So I had the video and I shared it through all our social media platform. And the amount of response that I was getting, like, okay, thank you for doing that. Thank you for connecting with us. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for taking a stand and representing us. Like, it meant a lot to them, which our CEO, like, scrambled to, like, put a statement out. However, our VP did an outstanding job. We had a conference call, and it was supposed to talk about the transition and between the merger that we just acquired another company.
I know.
Right? So he took it left field, and let me tell you something. That was the most powerful conversation that this white man had with us, and made it important to say, I need every single person to stop what you're doing. If you're multitasking, I need you to put everything down and sit at your desk, because this conversation is going to be had. And we have some guests that are going to speak to our African employees. Girl, when I tell you these directors and these executives were sharing their stories about being Black, having Black children, we got off that call in tears, because we couldn't believe that a white man actually really cared about us like that. And it wasn't scheduled, but he saw and felt the sense of urgency to address us. And as well, address us because we have also a community that is also African American. So it's not just the employees, but it's also our community. Yeah. We deal with customers who are African American. So it's very sensitive and it's very touching. But nonetheless, they did a good job of addressing it. You know, we took a diversity moment in which something that I suggested, and they decided to take it further. And on Thursday, we actually opened our stores later. But that day, I actually just, told my boss, I need more than 2 hours for my Blackness. So I'm taking a Black PTO day off. And he laughed because, he's Black. So he knew what it was. And so they have been doing a lot of things, and they understand the sense of urgency. And for the most part, they don't want the 74% of us to walk out, because without us, the company falls, right? So they actually did a good job, and they're doing a lot of action because we are holding them accountable. And I am having that conversation with them. We had to shoot a commercial. We had to do other different things, because now they're realizing there's not a lot of us that's sitting on that level. So now the representation.
I'm going to stop you right there, because they're not now realizing a damn thing. They're not now realizing shit.
Well, it's in their face now. So it's in their face, correct. It's in their face now. And so
we in their face now. Right. All the goddamn world is in their face.
But they don't have a distraction. There's no sports. There's nothing else open up. The world is not open where you can say, oh, it's going to be okay.
That's what I mean. The world is gazing down on their ass.
Right. Yeah, I just read one of the CEOs of a major investment bank just elevated 2 Black women to the executive leadership teams in 2 different capacities. And in his statement, he said he felt compelled to do it because of what was going on, although they were already scheduled to go later in the year. And I'm just like, that's amazing, that's great. But I don't want to go into these performative kind of gestures.
Exactly, sis.
The pipeline has always been there. Our skill set, our talent has always been there. So when they talk about we realized that we didn't have the pipeline of upper management waiting to go, because all you think about is recruitment. You don't think about retainment. You don't think about what our experiences are once we get the job. Are you cultivating an environment that allows us to ascend? Is there, and not that we need more training than anyone else, but we do have very specific needs. Right.
So to your point, it's the same conversation that I just had with my boss because he just got let go. I said, you know, what's so amazing to me now, it's, oh my gosh, you know, we're going to do this. We're going to open up these positions. Like, we don't want you to give us anything.
Right.
I need you guys to understand that we were always qualified.
Correct.
We've been coming, knocking at the door, well equipped, well educated, with a lot of experience, ready to work. But you never looked at us as an equal. And that's a problem. So now, don't think because we're in your face and we're not backing down. Now it's, oh, let me promote. Let me get a lot of Black people in these seats. No, that's not what we want. We don't want no sympathy. We want to work.
In the last 15 days, the amount of jobs for head of diversity inclusion, DVP of diversity inclusion, like all these bullshit D&I jobs have literally opened up over the last 15 days, which is exactly what y'all were talking about. Handing, like, oh, I'm just going to give you a job.
Right.
First of all, if I've been like a senior, let's just say I'm an analyst, right? If I've been a senior analyst at this job for X amount of years, I have X amount of degrees, I don't want to be the VP of D&I. I want to fucking in my department.
Right. Why am I like not operation?
That's what I've earned.
Exactly.
Don't give me some bullshit to pacify me like I'm a fifth grader. And you like, all right, if I give her some candy, you know, she'll be quiet. Nah, bitch, we gonna be loud for the long haul. Like, for the motherfucking long haul. But no, I think it's very interesting that both of you, your industries put out like really, really strong messages because you both don't have straight Black upline and I do. My upline is Black all the way to the top.
Not mine. Mine is white. White.
I literally
white
mean
white.
My team is completely people of color, and my team is Black all the way to the top. And we got the most bullshit fucking response. Bitch, I was on my email like, what you're not going to do.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
My inbox with the bullshit. So I got on my first team meeting after the George Floyd incident happened, and my manager, who's a Black woman, we get on the call, and I'm just like, do you want me to pull up my agenda or what? Because at this point, the head person had already sent out this email that set me off in the worst way, and I'm agitated. I don't want to talk to none of y'all. I'm ready to log the fuck out for the day. And I'm like, do you want me to pull up my agenda? She's like, absolutely not. Sis, let's talk, because did you see the email? And I said, okay, well, thank you. I'm glad somebody in leadership understands what the fuck is going on. She was like, first of all, nah, that's some bullshit. Like, we can't just sidestep over this shit. I was like, not when we're all Black.
Right.
We're all Black. We're all Black.
But that's some respectability bullshit. Like, you know, the respectability
we can't be
politics.
counseling and high stepping and fucking tap dancing when we're all Black. Like, you can't do that shit. And then the next day it was two leaders up, and I really love him because he's always 100% authentic. Like, he talked to us the way we talk to us, and you know, except for when he's on this corporate meeting. So he had a meeting with his whole department, and he was just like, yeah, so we're gonna address this and name names. George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, like named every Breonna Taylor, like named names, really got into it. And I was like, see, this is what I appreciate. So when he sent out his, you know, how did you feel about the little town hall or whatever, I said to him, I said, I appreciate that you spoke in vivid color and did not speak to me in taupe, because I do not appreciate when people talk to me in taupe. Don't talk to me in no calm, soothing voice about some shit that is really disruptive to my very existence. Like, don't do that shit. And I named, you know, our leadership that did it, because y'all know I don't give a fuck. So I was like, I said, I felt offended. I felt overlooked. I felt like for us to all share this history in this country, for that statement to be so generic, said to me that he's more interested in holding his seat than respecting the people that works for him. I said, and for me, that's problematic. That causes me to look elsewhere for work. So, and you know, we already understand because you motherfuckers the fire there.
Well, as you saw on Twitter today, I kindly shared to everyone, because my CEO, my VP, all of them follow me. And I kindly put on my Twitter that next week I'm gonna address the Black people that are being used as puppet to address the Black people. Like,
Yeah.
so, you know, we have those Black employees who are trying to get promoted. So they're like doing the pony dance
They doing
instead
the
of taking a
two-step
stand.
and shit.
Right. Instead of taking a stand and saying, you know what, I'm supporting this. Like, no, we can't move forward. This cannot be a conversation that we
That
don't
ain't even
have.
no promotion you want, because that's some bullshit in name and not in anything substantive.
Right.
Right.
Like, what are you gonna do with it? You like, it would literally be the opposite of what the both of you have, which is not just a seat at a table, but a voice at the table. Because if I know I gave it to you, I'm not really checking for what you have to say. You didn't earn your seat here any fucking way.
Exactly.
I gave you this seat so that when we take these pictures for the corporate pamphlet, it all looks good.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, the biggest part of our leadership role right now is holding people accountable. So, you know, I do a great job of that. I hold people accountable because guess what? I want the same sense of urgency you would have when you want to hold me accountable. I am holding you accountable as well.
Right.
So no, you put out that statement. We are not pop. I don't want to hear I want to hear Black people or African American address us only.
directly, yep.
We're not saying that all lives don't matter. We are saying that Black lives matter. And that's what we fighting for.
The fact that I have to keep telling you my life matters is exactly why all lives don't matter.
Exactly. So I say that to say that it's been very interesting that I sit on the Diversity and Inclusion Network, right? I have a strong position. My seat at the table is strong.
But it's because you earned it.
Right. Well, you know, yeah, of course I earned it.
No, but that's what I'm saying, as opposed to these fucking, I'm telling you, if y'all go on Indeed right now,
right,
girl,
right,
let me tell you, baby, they don't money. I have encouraged people who really ain't gonna get nowhere on their own to go ahead and try to make that happen for yourself.
Right.
It's an opportunity because you probably are not gonna get this opportunity again. But for those of us like the us's in the world who really earn our fucking spots, I'm like, don't take that shit. That shit is not going to translate into what you think is going to translate into.
So what's been so ironic and so interesting for me is that I am the only African American on that board. And none of my counter partners
on diversity and inclusion?
Yes, have not. Let me
That's
repeat
the problem.
Let me repeat it. Have not reached out to me to ask me how I am doing or how I am feeling. So you know what I did? I held every single one accountable and gave them a new one. See, you guys want to dance around these conversations? I am good at having these tough conversations and telling you that it is unacceptable for you to sit on this table. Like, why are you on this table? How are you representing us? Like, this is diversity and inclusion. You are supposed to lean in and say, oh, let me look on the board. Who's Black here? Let me reach out to that individual to say, you know what? How are you doing today? How are you feeling? Just start the conversation right there. And the fact that no one has reached out to me, you know, it has been very interesting. I do have one person who sits on the board as well, but I kind of not count her because we are actually friends out of where we work. So our company that we just acquired, we worked there previously together. So our relationship goes 2 decades, right? So now it's like 20 plus years of friendship, and we've been like leaning on each other. Like, can you believe no one has called you? Like, I can't believe it. No one has called me. The interesting factor of it is there's a white person who sits on the board and actually is a strong advocate for me. Like, I'm not gonna lie, my experience, like getting that mentorship came from a white woman. Like, this person actually advocates for me. Also have like Black children, you know? Like, it's amazing to me and have yet to reach out to me. So now I'm looking at her totally different, like, do you not have Black kids?
It's a lot of people getting exposed in the light, baby.
But it was
drawn.
They were all trying to trying to figure out if they were going to have a job because of all the acquisition and the merge. A lot of people got let go.
This acquisition, let me tell you something. That M&A been in the works for eons. Even I knew about it.
Right.
I don't work there. Please. Child, please. Everybody knows. That's why I started buying up stock. I said, this shit looking good.
Hello. But that's my whole point. That's what I've been telling other people. Like, this is your platform. You have a platform. Just use it. Like, risk it all. Like, this. What could possibly happen to me?
You're not even risking common decency. Like, hey, I sit on the D&I board with you.
Yeah.
Wait.
That's just businessy. That ain't risking shit. That's just how it's raised. Right?
Here's a better one. Here's a better one. You ready for this one? HR sits on the board. An HR partner sits on the board. Hence why my tweets today addressed them. Like, how are you sitting on the board and you don't reach out to me? Are you not for the people? Who are you representing? I'm confused.
Accountable. Got to.
I'm confused. But this is what happened after I tweeted all that and aired them out. What do I get? I get a lovely phone call from HR, from another HR representative who really is cool, so she didn't get that smoke. But I already knew that they put her up to calling me because they're like, okay. And then I had to let her know, like, hey, I'm also on PTO. So we shouldn't be having this conversation because now I get an extra day because you're calling me on PTO.
No, but the point you make aligns with the point that Kim made and the point that I was making when I went live on BGS a couple of weeks ago. I should not have to teach you how to ally, and I'm not going to. Like, you're either going to do it or you're not. Like, I'm not going to give you the Cliff Notes version of how you've been fucking up for 400 years as a fucking people.
Right.
I'm not going to do that. Like,
I'm not going to teach you about slavery. I'm not gonna make this video about
all of it is ridiculous. And then what especially pisses me off with people in leadership, just in general, I make it a point not to drag Black women on this platform. Like, I'll call your ass out, like, yo, you said some dumb shit, but I'm not gonna drag your ass because that is not what I'm here for. But I'm gonna call Keisha Bottoms out. Mayor Bottoms was on some bullshit today on The View. And I'm gonna call sis out for multiple reasons. One, she's a fellow rattler. Two,
I did not see it. What did she say?
I'm about to tell you. And a bunch of us, like, in our small ways contributed. We ain't got no big coins, but little coins add up when they get put together. Contributed and like helped with all this other shit. We did our Rattler alumni duty. Here's the shit that sis said on The View today that sent me into a motherfucking tweet storm. She said that violence is not how we move the needle forward, and violence has never been how we move the needle forward with human rights. It is with peaceful and eloquent
what did I get?
And legislation.
Does sis remember the fire hoses? Does sis remember the dogs being let loose on children? Does sis remember the houses and the churches and the towns being burnt down to the ground? I mean, they whitewashed history enough. We're not going to enable them to whitewash history. I love how everyone canonizes Martin Luther King Jr. as
Thank you. That's exactly where I went.
He also came with that smoke and don't how parts of him that creates and fits your narrative. Like, if you're gonna embrace him, embrace all of him. Embrace all of him because he definitely advocated for any means by necessary as well.
But they curated that conversation to make it fit their little fucking annotated textbook. And so that was my point. I was like, first of all, let's talk about Martin because y'all love to lean into him.
Martin. They love a good Martin.
His peaceful protest got him assassinated, right? And then Kaepernick chose a very peaceful protest. Right. Eloquently. Very eloquently. Explained his protest. He never struggled to eloquently convey what his point was. So he was peaceful and he was eloquent. He was literally the textbook definition of what you're saying moved the needle forward. And today, 4 years later, now the NFL gets it. They get it because we fucking shit up. They don't get peaceful protests.
Right.
Yeah.
Protest is some
That's
shit
why
that
when
work in
people
your
talk
household with
about
your child.
looting and they shouldn't do that.
Their
No,
pockets
burn
getting
it
fucked
down. Burn it. Listen, the only thing I have and I would say to people, just don't hurt nobody and don't kill anybody. Make sure everybody's out.
Don't kill nobody, but burn
Yeah,
this
don't
bitch
kill
down.
nobody.
Burn it.
Listen,
down.
we built this shit
Thank
for
you.
free.
Exactly.
For
Burn it.
free.
So
Thank
burn
you.
it down. Burn it
Don't
down.
care
I
what you
don't
do.
live.
And so the
bad.
shit, it pissed me off and it set me off because one, she's being vetted for the VP position, which the DNC better not do that, but that's a conversation for another day. She's leadership in a predominantly Black area of a red state,
Yep.
of a very red state, Georgia, hella red. You
Yep.
are the leader of a concentrated amount of Blacks, a concentrated amount of Black wealth in the
Yep.
South.
Yeah.
And you're being vetted for VP. And this is the shit you chose to say while you had all of fucking America's attention on daytime television?
Just
But
like
again, it goes back to respectability politics.
yes.
And like Leland said, you want to trot out the good ones, the good, respectable Blacks. Like,
Yep.
and you know, once you get to a certain level of power, people tend to lose their authenticity, and
Right.
they have to cater to who, you know, the group that they want to align themselves with, and that
Yep.
is what you see happening.
And we're seeing it being done a lot. So, but the one thing, like I tell people, we can disagree about a lot of things, right?
Not racism.
But not
You're
racism.
not.
We are
Right.
not going to disagree about that. It's either right or wrong. There's no in between. It's like all the dogs are there. You see brown, you see Black, you see white, you see whatever color shades of frigging dogs, and you say, oh, but the white dogs are important. All white dogs are important. No, what happened to the brown dogs? What happened to the Black dogs? All the fucking dogs are important, right? But now our focus right now are on the Black, and we need everyone to understand that we have been dying for over centuries, and the history keeps going.
And the
Black
shit
history,
used to happen.
Black history is happening right now. It's being written
Somebody's
right
child
now.
is probably becoming a hashtag as we fucking speak, and that's the
Oh yeah.
and that's the fucking problem. That's the problem.
Exactly. Every day we wake up to a new hashtag.
That
Right.
is the fucking problem, and that's why it's a problem for me when I see Black leadership. When I see Black leadership toting the line, that shit is problematic for me. That is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is not that's not a space
You know,
I do well in because I'm not with the shits. I can't. Like
I really do. I hate the pandering and I hate the respectability politics that, oh, if you know, look the part, dress the part, speak the part, you
Speak the
know,
part.
you'll get far. Like, that's not true.
meanwhile,
We've seen that time and time again.
This is
Like,
years ago, DC cops stopped the damn senator and accused him of trying to pass himself off as a real senator. Like literally, no, it wasn't the DC cops, it was the Capitol cops.
You can't
Literally, this man is a fucking U.S. senator.
Yep. You
Mhm.
can't make it up.
Profiled and stopped by the cops.
You can't make it up. You can't make it up.
and I mean, it goes back to like Cornell West in that, you know, the officer on the campus, was it Princeton, Yale,
Yeah.
that, you know, like a cop, like Cornell West, dude, like seriously. Don't like miss me with the respectability politics. Like, it doesn't, your life is not safer or more valued because of your degrees or how you're dressing. Like, that is bullshit. Like, everyone, like a ghetto Black life matters the same way that an Ivy League Black
Yep.
life matters.
Damn
as well.
right. Damn
Correct.
right. I know my Sunni life matter. Fuck they thought.
That's right, Sunni.
They thought. So before we wrap up, I just want you ladies to give me like your final words, one of advice to other Black women in leadership right now, and then two, if you care to, let us know where we can find you on social media. Man, you talked about tweeting, some powerful shit, so maybe you want to share your Twitter, if you're okay with that. And then yeah, I just want to hear your closing thoughts because I feel like y'all gonna give me some good shit to close out to.
Okay. So my advice to any Black female in leadership right now, use your platform and make your voice be heard. But as well, it's very important to have a solution. We're at the table and we're barking, but make sure that we also have a solution to resolve the matter. It is important for our voice to be heard. This is not the time for us to be silent. So I will advocate, will empower every single one of you to take the lead and lead your ship. Like, lead. This is your time. It's not about result. It's about surviving right now. So we need the strength and we need the power in our females, because Black women lives matter. Like, there's a lot that's happening just on our platform, but we need to use it, and we need to use it today. We need to take a stand. We need to use our voices and be powerful, but most importantly, be impactful. Do not just be busy, be impactful. That is important. Make sure that when you say something is wrong, say this is how you can fix it. This is what you want. So use your platform, use your voice, create your story. You can follow me on Twitter, Maylink LLC. That is MAYLINK LLC. And I'm also on IG. You can follow me there. My name is Mays World 410, MAYS, and World, WORLD 410. So feel free to follow me. And thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you.
So my final thoughts are to Black women along the same lines. It's definitely to, as you climb, reach back and bring somebody up with you. I really, really, really despise the narrative that Black women don't support each other or don't get along with each other. That's not my reality at all. I have a phenomenal network of close friends, associates, and all we do is big each other up and support each other in whichever way form that we can. It is lonely at the top, and you absolutely need that support. And I do think that with our generation, we're not afraid to have someone else sitting at the table with us. At least that's been my experience. You have to definitely strengthen your networks. You make friends with the next Black woman, because you don't know, especially as your careers grow and diverge, you don't know who's going to end up at what company, like who you're going to have to call on for like whatever assistance or resource. So make very strong, meaningful connections, mentor people. And this also goes to making those connections. A mentor doesn't have to be a subordinate, a senior subordinate type of relationship. You can do peer mentorships as well. So I think like that is just gonna strengthen us. Like, share your resources. If you hear about a course that may be helpful to someone else in a different type of industry, let them know about it. Like, information flows so freely. It does more harm than good for you to try to hoard information. Like, if we're trying to uplift each other and lift our demographic as a whole, we have to be able to share information more freely and just like fully support each other.
I love that. Thank you, Kim. So I love the you pointing out peer mentorship, because that is a big thing. And I think very often the narrative is that it's in the subordinate senior way. Yeah. But I feel like more of my successful mentorship relationships now are with people who are on par, that just have something to offer, that know something that I don't know, and whatever, we get an opportunity to feed off each other. So I really appreciate my rich leaders for pulling out and spending some time with me.
It's a recession. Y'all better save y'all coins.
No, I've been looking.
I really,
that. You can't get my personal handle, but if you want to follow a page on Instagram, you can follow at Bronx Budget Girl on Instagram, because I do personal finance advice on that page.
See? You got stuff to offer the people. Seriously, y'all, I really, really, really appreciate y'all hopping on Black Girl SOS with me. And in closing, I just want to say to everyone who is watching, leadership is not your title, and 9 times out of 10, leadership is accidental. You fall into leadership just by way of who you are, what you're willing to share, and how you're willing to embrace. So you find yourself in a leadership position, whether you ask for it or not. Lean into it, especially right now, because to both of these ladies' point, we have to use our platform unapologetically, loudly, and impactfully. And until next time, sis, you have a good one.